I have seen you do that
so
many times. Yeah, I've seen that so many times on you, Shotgun. It's like, what was that line that like we said about, remember kids, if you keep losing and gambling, just keep going until you win.
Yep, indeed. Oh, by the way, news. It seems that Gem has fixed the Magda Unbound Evolution thing.
Aw, all right.
So, yeah, you can't do that anymore. Magda is now officially shit.
But she's beautiful.
But she has wonderful heart.
She is so fun, but not fun if she's too strong. So we can make choices about those effects. We can say, look, people hate playing against stealing effects much more than against
we'll get that with Aurora's trick.
Yeah, we can basically say people hate this type of thing. We can keep it out of the game because people don't like playing against it. But then we can say we're going to keep it at a lower power level and make it like legendary so that you can't run too many of them and so that you're more likely to get caught off guard when it does happen. But if it happens, it'll never happen again for the rest of the game usually, which is nice unless, you start copying stuff, but then you deserve it. But the thing is, we can put it at a lower power level so people that enjoy it can enjoy trying to use it on some level, maybe on unranked, maybe they come up with something brilliant and they do something at competitive levels. But because it's not the most powerful thing in the game, you don't have to play against it that much. And that's one of the nice things about people say, why do you ever make some cards stronger than others? And this is the answer, because this way we can put things in the game that a small number of people like, that other people don't like playing against, and still allow people to enjoy them, at least to a degree.
Yep. Best card in the game. Unbound Evolution.
Yeah, it's one of the most fun cards for sure. And Dan today put up a video on YouTube. You guys should go check it out when he plays this deck where he reduces the cost of his cards in his hand, and then Unbound Evolution is the perfect answer to that. Just turn his minions to something else, and if it's a zero cost card that you played on, it has again a 33% chance of just killing it outright if it's not standing on a lake. So it gets really good value if played on a zero cost card.
Unbound Evolution is one of the most flexible and interesting safety valves in the game. And I really, really like it. People keep saying it should be 2. Some people say it should be 0. The interesting thing about it, I think, which is fun, is that if your opponent plays a zero-cost, really powerful card, and you pay Unbound Evolution, they're going to get a 1/1, but you still paid 1 Faeria to answer their card, and they got something back. So it's not as backbreaking as it feels. And I feel like because it's 3 lakes, it's one of the things that gives Blue this really interesting, flexible tool.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my favorite cards.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Alright, let's move on. The next card, it's not really... I mean, I don't know if you can call these like removals. I guess soft removals, because you can reduce the damage they can deal. It's a Gabriel enchantment. It's a 2-cost card. It says a creature's attack becomes equal to its life.
Well, I have thought about using it as removal. I've actually tried it on the test servers, but generally, Gabriel, it's very underwhelming to use it as removal.
Yeah, I thought the same. I mean, the good thing is that you can use it like offensively also. You can buff your own.
You use it in your deck to use it as an offense tool, but it can be used as a defense tool. But most of the times it's not that good as a defense tool because you also have Humbling Vision.
Yeah.
Which is better.
Yeah, but there's a lot of annoying like 6/1 creatures that just keep coming out of those structures from yellow.
Yeah, but even then, you don't really want to use it on one of those 6/1 creatures.
Yeah, that's true.
Because those only cost the guy 2 life, because Altar of Souls.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe not so much to talk about this card. Let's move on to Humbling Vision. That's a really strong card on the other.
That is a very powerful removal too.
So why did we ignore it entirely in balance testing for so long?
I don't know, because I know that. No, actually, I played a shit ton of Humbling Vision. You kidding me? I was one of the people who played a lot of event stacks.
Yeah, after I tried it first.
Well, yeah, but before that, I was away. Don't you remember? I was away for that first tournament.
Dan, if he's away,
I remember you asked me for a list. You asked me for a list.
Yeah, because I was out of the loop.
But I'm saying that before you were back, this happened, and I don't understand why. Like, I remember us looking at this card and thinking, it's not that good. You reduce them to 1 life, but they still have 1 power. They still have a lot of stuff. There's There's things like Feed the Forest in the format that you can use to sacrifice it and get all your value back. You Tumbling Vision, they're 7/7. They just sacrifice it, gain 7 Faeria. There's Gabriel Enchantment. They can immediately raise their power back up to its full thing. And it's like, these cards are never good. They're never good. It's like you need to kill their creature. You don't just weaken their creature. What the heck are you doing? What if it has a combat trigger? What if it has all these different things? And it's like it's still damaging you. What's going on? And the funny thing was the real turning point. Like I started putting it in as a joke in a blue-yellow events deck and realizing it was just crushing all these neutral rush strategies, which was really funny because this was when neutral rush was like 3 tiers higher than it is now. Like it used to be so much stronger.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was completely insane.
I wasn't playing back then.
And the thing was, though, like the other tools were better too. We sort of took everything down a notch, so you could just go completely insane in a whole lot of different directions, and you could outvalue them because the economic engines were better, and it was cool, but it was just too cutthroat. You make one misplay, and your whole game would explode. So at the high level competitive play, it was really cool, but we wanted to make the game less punishing for new players. So what happened though was I started running it, started realizing how good it was, and it was like, hey, this card's actually a really good tool. We should run this. But the real turning point happened when we were doing the Pandora testing. And Deepwood Grizzly used to be 1 power more for the exact same stat line, just a 4/8 for 5 Faeria and 1 Forest. It was completely insane. And it was like everyone was saying this is the best common. You should absolutely always draft green because this thing's just value city. You can't lose off of it. It's just too good. It costs less than Last Nightmare. It gets over the 3 power threshold for the Choking Sands. You just can't lose value. It's too good. And then, and the thing was, it's only 1 Forest. You can play it in any deck. So if you ever see it in, arena mode, the Pandora mode, you have to take it. And so we were all saying this, and we were doing the drafts for the tournaments. And Jem calls me over and says, "Hey, look, I just got Deepwood Grizzly in a pack, and it's like the first pick. And or no, I think he actually already had a Mountain. Yeah, he had a really good red card. And he said, I've got Deepwood Grizzly, but I've got Humbling Vision. And I say, well, you always take the Deepwood Grizzly. And I paused and I said, I think you actually take Humbling Vision.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my God. This card is just completely ridiculous. So yeah, the card is nuts. It's just way too good.
It's definitely very strong.
I've been often tempted to up its cost and like lower its lake requirement to be like 3 Faeria, but I don't know. I think it's one of the things that makes blue so good, and it's reasons to really go heavy blue.
I wouldn't like that because then everyone could run Humbling Vision in any deck if it were only 1 or 2 lake requirements.
I think the 3 lake is the one that basically balances it all out.
Right. Like, I think you have to go very heavy blue, and usually you have to go in the earlier game. It's very restrictive into your other defensive options, trying to stop an early rush. But, like, the idea was to up its Faeria cost as well. But then I think it's just not as satisfying. I think you feel so satisfying when you play that card. And there are ways you can answer it. There are definitely ways you can get around it. Like, there's different decks that respond to it in different ways. Like, for example, currently Master Swordsman it's not very good to Humbling Vision that card because a lot of its power comes from a temporary power boost that's only active during your turn.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the idea of raising the cost or lowering the lake requirements. I think the card is. I mean, it's a strong card, but I don't think it's too strong.
Right.
Because the
guy still keeps his creature.
Yeah, and you don't want to play it maybe on like a medium threat. You want to save it in case there's something bigger coming out.
Well, the problem with the card is usually what happens is it gets you this massive value because you have, like right now, you don't see this all the time because you can afford to just throw it on anything and just, really reduce its power. But what it can do is often, if you're trying to get max value out of it, which is very easy to do, you have like a 7/7 next to their 7/7, you play this card and suddenly you have a 7/6 and they have nothing. Yeah. And it's just that kind of swing is something that you have to ask yourself.
I love it.
Are we okay, as in balance wise, for having a 2 Faeria card that's basically Last Nightmare in a lot of situations?
But it's a situational Last Nightmare.
Exactly. So that's always very difficult to balance. The thing is, I think it's one of the most powerful cards in the game by far. It's a huge reason to play blue, but every color has those. So it's definitely on my watch list. I keep feeling like I should nerf it, but I keep not doing it. So you're probably safe for now.
Thank you. And the really funny thing is if we move on to the next card, they combo
there's a
beautiful together.
There's actually a 3-card combo in this list.
This is so much fun. Yeah, so the next card, Aurora's Trick, it requires 5 legs, so this is not very splashable.
No.
It costs 4 Faeria, and it says gain control of a creature with 2 attack or less. So that's just beautiful together with
I think it used to cost, 2 or 3 legs?
3 legs.
Yeah. That card was so broken.
One of the things, and it was for a long time, like one of the things that I do when I'm doing balancing is that I usually know what's going to be broken before it breaks. I'm actually very, very good at getting ahead of the meta. There has so far not been a meta that I haven't actually predicted the most popular deck in within our eternal balance testing. I'm sure that will break now that we have this massive hive mind breaking everything so far. The thing is, though, often I leave really powerful, cool stuff in the game because I don't feel comfortable just assuming that I know better than all the players. Obviously, that's a dumb idea. So I usually wait for people to break the card and show how powerful or oppressive it is before I do something about it. Aurora's Trick, I kept thinking this card has to be insane at 3 legs. It just has to be. Look what it can do to their harvesters. And suddenly you have lands next to their orb. And it's like, Noisome Possum, who's a really very skilled player, kept saying this card's going to be broken. And I said, I know, but somebody needs to prove it. And then in one of the balance testing things, people just set out to do that. And we're like, yep, it's broken. So, because the problem with the card is you can steal their harvester. And then suddenly you skip all the interaction of the land game because you can build lands next to creatures you control. You could play it, steal their harvester, build lands right next to their orb, and there's nothing they can do. And now they've lost their harvester. You've turned off some of their economy. You're now gaining economy. They've got to retreat to deal with your creature. And that's really problematic because now you have pressure on their orb. And the worst part is there was nothing they could do about it, really. You skipped all the normal interaction and defenses that come with the board building. So I was thinking of just lowering the power threshold to be like 1 or less to make this really super situational, but really cool card that you might bring in to a specific meta to deal with a specific type of thing. But people really didn't respond well to that. So we just upped the lake requirement instead so that you could do all the crazy broken stuff you can normally do. But
it's later in the game when the land thing doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Precisely.
I mean, 5 lake is no joke. It's a requirement. It takes a long time to get there, usually.
Actually, in a blue deck, that's actually not true because blue decks tend to run water elementals, which are by far the best elementals.
do they actually run them? I mean, I know people are running them.
I know I am, and
I actually don't like the water elemental too much.
I don't either.
I've faced so many water elementals again when playing against blue decks, but that's because a water elemental also goes very well with Unbound Evolution.
That's true. Because you fight once with protection and then you evolve it. But I really think that people just
It's a 5 cost then.
I think people, didn't I say that?
Yeah, you say you fight and then unbound it, but the biggest thing is that the water elemental also costs 4 Faeria, so it becomes a 5 costing creature.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
I think if the water elemental had aquatic, it would be a lot stronger.
Well, of course it would, but also be too strong.
Yeah, it
would be too strong.
But I mean, I don't play it in my blue deck, for example. I used it in the beginning, but I think I remember.
No, but the protection on the water elemental is so ridiculous. But I think this is a topic for another time.
Yeah.
I'm just saying water elementals I feel are still the best elementals right now.
I think they are the best elemental probably, but I would say that everyone's putting them in just sort of unthinkingly, and I think that's a mistake. I think the elementals are good in certain circumstances. They're mostly Pandora tools. I do not think that they're actually I don't think they have enough value. That the bodies that they present are not actually good enough to challenge the type of threats that you're facing in these modes. They're not cheap enough to be good harvesters. They're not expensive. They're not powerful enough to fight well. I just don't think you have I think they fall between a lot of important numbers. And also, I really think that actually the red one has the most potential because you can just generate this whole situation where it by itself, a ranged creature can often change how a game looks. That if you can protect it, if you can keep it alive, or if you can get off an attack with it even, you might say, look, your deck should win the long game here. I understand that. But I have a ranged creature now, and if you can't deal with it, I'm going to win this game if it keeps going. So now you've got to